Okay, so I do know it's been a while. So if you remember the D1158 show, or just D1158, then you may have seen the Rhymes as 158. Rhymes as 158. I call it a rescue vehicle. Rhymes as 158. I call it the Ecto 1. Rhymes as 158. I call it a penguin. Rhymes as 158. Hey! I'm not the penguin. I'm Sir Topham Hatt. The penguin's talking. I call it a caveman. Rhymes as 158. I call it brain rot. Rhymes as 158. Fully intended. The stuff inside is brain rot. So, bye. I call it a time machine. Rhymes as 158. I call it Piggy. Rhymes as 158. I call this one being scared of women. I 158. I call these two woodworkers. I go now. I 158. I call it a fingerling. Rhymes as 158. I call it a dinosaur. Rhymes as 158. I call it a Percy jockey. Rhymes as 158. Can you please get off me? Now. Go forth, my man. Or my noble steed. Whee! I call it a dreidel. Rhymes as 158. And I call this Orson. Nope, never mind. I actually like this thing. Me precious. I call it a Neil. Rhymes as 158. And I call it a pet. Rhymes as 158. Oi, talking about me or my pet dino? I go now. I call it SpongeBob. Rhymes as 158. Actually, it doesn't rhyme with 158. And I call it a rug. Rhymes as rug. Train. Bye. I call it a rocket. Rhymes as 158. And I call this a worm. Rhymes as 158. I call it a lookie. Rhymes as 158. I call it a flashlight. Rhymes as 158. And I call this one blinding. Rhymes as 158. I can see Jesus. I call it a monster truck. Rhymes as 158. Someone get me a hammer. Okay, so we don't have it. Oh, he's gone. And I call this one Rage. And I call this a blurry camera. Rhymes as 158. Now focus. Focus. Okay, thank you. Thank you. And I call this a dead man. Come here. I call this one a dinosaur. Food. I can almost taste it. You're my dinner. I call this one Bigfoot 5. Or was it 9? Oh, yep, Bigfoot 5. Fun fact, they actually left Monster Jam. But I'm still keeping this truck. I call it a ball. Rhymes as 158. And I call this bowling. Fiddlin'. I call it bomber butts. Rhymes is 158. I call it junk pots. Rhymes is 158. And I call this dumpster diving. Also rhymes is 158. But brain rot doesn't rhyme with 158. I'm just gonna go eat this engine real quick. Yum 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 yum. Yum. That was a delicious engine. Like, cameraman, why again? I call it Wildwood. Rhymes is 158. I call it a boardwalk. Rhymes is Wildwood. Man, I'm bored. But I call it Larry. Rhymes is 158. Oh no. Bye. I can smell you. I call it a fire. Rhymes is 158. I call it the end of the video. Rhymes is 158. Bye. Please subscribe. I can smell you. But please subscribe. Please.